I'm in New York this week at Social Media Week by Adweek, and just a few observations. I've been there for 3 days. I think the biggest thing, and this is, I guess context matters here in the sense that I've been in this space for 15 years working. This is the 15th anniversary of Intelligence, which we founded to really dive into social community, social conversation. 15 years ago, we were preaching about community and about individual connection and all these things, and nobody wanted to do that except for kind of this purist group that we found ourselves in at the very beginning. And these were the people that shared the same beliefs. But when corporate came in, they didn't understand that. They didn't understand community. They didn't want to spend time building community because they couldn't understand return. Influencers were not necessarily influencers. They became the people that had the largest followings because they came from a media mindset, and it was all about views and impressions. And so, anyways, that was 15 years ago. And where we've evolved to today is a lot of time of brands and community and creators evolving and figuring it out. And brands have figured out over time that just yelling at people, their message, whether it be through an influencer, paid ad, big following channel, just doesn't work anymore. And part of that is because people have gotten tired of it. And part of it is because TikTok is unlocked and everybody else has followed suit, that it's more about what captures people's attention, not your following. And so we've really moved to this attention economy, not a following economy. But that doesn't mean communities still don't exist. It doesn't mean that influencers don't exist. And so where we've gotten to 15 years later here at AdWeek, or at Social Media Week, which is very evident, is that influencers matter. I would say that's the biggest theme of the whole thing, is creators, influencers really, really matter. And I wouldn't even say influencers. I'm not a fan of that word. I hate that word, but creators, because creators can speak to very niche audiences. Any one of them can go viral at any point in time. And it's all about the content they create and with the way the algorithms work today. So creators are a huge, huge piece of how brands need to connect with their audiences. Because honestly, people don't care as much about brands anymore. They care about people that give them honest, authentic feedback. And I know I said authentic, sorry. The other thing that I just find funny, and the host opened with this, is that the week was about community, connection, and something else. I don't remember what the other thing was, but we're finally back to community, that it matters, even though because the algorithms have kind of disrupted community in a lot of ways, but there are still communities. So 15 years later, we've kind of finally come full circle to where all the purists wanted us to start, but brands couldn't get their heads around. Everybody's learned their lessons, and we've gotten back to this place. So Social Media Week's been good. I think the biggest thing I would say is people go, how's it going? I overheard somebody else say this at the conference, is they said, well, I haven't been to a presentation where somebody says something and I'm like, oh crap, I'm not thinking about that, or I didn't know that, or I'm not aware of that. I think if you're living and breathing in this industry on a daily basis, you know all this stuff. I think the thing that I take note of is that I know what we do at Intelligence and what we do for certain brands and agencies and with AI and the way we've been doing it for a long, long, long time. And there's so much more they could do to understand audiences, to understand communication, to understand how these communities are actually talking and what it means. And today, while that seems really sophisticated, it's not. Most of these platforms, a lot of the platforms that are sponsors at this Social Media Week are listening. They're what we call counting and sorting tools. They might give you a little bit of AI strapped on top of it, where it gives you kind of the obvious, yeah, duh, that's what they're talking about. But there's no real qualitative intelligence. There's a lot of quantitative data. And I think that's the place where we're going to go next. The AI has been brought up a number of times here, but this community hasn't really figured out how to embrace that yet. Next year, when we're having this conference and this conversation, it'll be very different. So just a few thoughts for you.